Hi, this is Congressman Tom O'Halloran. Today, I'm joined by our Wounded Warrior fellow, Derek, who served in the United States Army for 8 years as a sergeant. Derek, thanks a lot for being here today, and appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tom. That's right. I was proud to serve our country as a military intelligence professional and help train and mentor young soldiers from all walks of life to defend our country. I was honored then to join Team O'Halloran in 2021, and I'm so happy to be here with you today, Tom.
And we're honored to have you here, and thank you for your service to our country. Derek and I are going to talk about two major pieces of legislation we passed out of the House of Representatives this week to support veterans and active duty service members. On Wednesday night, we passed the Honoring Our Pact Act. This new bill addresses health issues that impact toxic exposed veterans, including barriers to accessing earned benefits and care through the VA. This legislation finally treats toxic exposure as a cost of war. Our veterans put themselves in harm's way to protect our nation, and we made a promise to protect them when they returned home. But too often, the federal government has not kept its promise. Derek, can you give us some insight into that?
Absolutely, Tom. I know firsthand the real and immediate impact this bill will have for Arizona veterans. According to VA data, as many as 3.5 million of America's 17.4 million veterans suffer conditions relating to toxic exposure, meaning as many as 100,000 of Arizona's more than 500,000 veterans could see an expansion of eligibility for cost-free medical care and disability compensation. This act will get desperately needed care to service members who've been exposed to toxic burn pits, contaminated water supplies, and harmful chemical agents like Agent Orange while serving in the line of duty. With the passage of the Honoring Our Pact Act, Congress is finally taking decisive action to fulfill their end of the bargain for the brave men and women who risk it all for love of country and their fellow Americans each and every day.
And finally is the key word there. It's taken a long time. I'll always work to ensure our brave veterans have access to the highest quality care and resources. They put themselves in harm's way to keep our nation and our families safe. And keeping our promise to veterans and service members starts by ensuring they have the funding they need to carry out their important missions, both at home and abroad, and care for their families. The legislation that funds all of these operations is called National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA. And it's the duty of Congress to pass a comprehensive National Defense Authorization Act each year. Yesterday, I voted to pass a bipartisan NDAA out of the House of Representatives, funding a much-deserved pay raise for our troops and setting aside the money and resources needed for our military operations, both foreign and domestic, for the next year. Derek, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Sometimes it can be difficult to translate federal policies into the real-world impact they have on the safety, health, and combat effectiveness of America's fighting force, and the veterans they become when they leave the service. So I'm here to help put things in perspective a little bit.
Great.
First and foremost, the NDAA funds ensured that every time I took my squad out on a mission, I'd go out with the confidence knowing that the soldiers to the left and the right of me were the best trained, equipped, and compensated soldiers on the planet. Our troops and their families take on tremendous personal risk. They deserve each and every advantage that we can afford them. So another way to look at it is when I was injured overseas over 5 years ago, it was NDAA authorized funds that paid for the protective gear and state-of-the-art military equipment that prevented what was ultimately a mild traumatic brain injury for me from becoming what could have been a fatal injury. So it really matters that these funds are getting out to the troops. Another way to look at it is from a healthcare perspective. While I was still on active duty, NDAA funds that Congressman O'Halloran voted for in 2017 ensured I would receive months of quality physical therapy that I needed to recover without any personal out-of-pocket cost. And then, of course, when I completed my term of service, it was federally funded programs that allowed me to get an education and translate the skills and training I acquired in the military to a successful civilian career.
Well, first of all, I'm happy you're here today. Congratulations for all you've done in your academic standards. The legislation we're working on here in Washington has real-world implications that help protect the safety of American families and keep our service members equipped with what they need. That's why it's so important for Congress to write, debate, and come to agreement on a comprehensive bipartisan bill each year. And a big part of my job as your representative is making sure the bill works for Arizonans too. It's essential for me to hear from Arizona veterans and active duty service members about what they need from their federal government, what is currently working and what is not. And Derek and our entire military and veteran services team is an essential part of that goal. Derek and members of my staff are out in communities across our state every single week, hearing from veterans, enlisted men and women, and their families. Derek, thank you so much for joining me here today in D.C. for the passage of these important legislative packages, and for the service members and the veterans.
Tom, it's been my privilege. Thank you so much for inviting me out to D.C. to participate in this exciting and important week. And I'm looking forward to getting back to Arizona and continuing to serve our district's veterans, service members, and of course, military families. There's nothing more fulfilling than paying forward the help that I've received to help other veterans in similar situations. So thanks again.
And thank you. And it's important for all of us to pay forward for our veterans and their families. Keep them in your prayers and mind always.